Hyperlapses are one of my favorite features when it comes to DJI products, especially with the DJI Osmo Pocket. Now, the MAVIC Air 2 produces some incredible 8K hyperlapses, and in this video I'm going to show you the standard 4 ways you can do the hyperlapses within the app, but then also my easy, quick way of doing hyperlapse that only takes quarter of the time. Let's get into it. What's going on, my friends? It's Jason here. I hope you are all well. Now, today's tutorial is hyperlapses with the MAVIC Air 2. Now, most of you already know how to use all the features in the MAVIC Air 2, but there are certainly some people that don't actually know how to use some of the features. They've only just picked up the MAVIC Air 2. It's a brand new drone. They may not have had any other drones before in the past. So if that's the case, then great choice. You've picked a really good drone. But this can come a little bit overwhelming learning all these new features, even if you have had these drones before. But I'm going to show you the absolute easiest way to do a 4K hyperlapse that takes less than quarter of the time to complete. Now, this may not actually be absolutely ideal, but it does work a treat if you are crushed with a little bit of time restrictions. And I do it with the Osmo Pocket absolutely all the time. So essentially you are utilizing frame dropping in your editing software. Now, this necessarily isn't a bad thing, but for professional work, it's probably not a good thing because you may notice it when it comes to higher end footage, but with drone footage, you may not actually notice any frame dropping. Now, the first step is you record about 30 to 60 seconds worth of footage, but make sure you keep the movement nice and smooth when you're recording. So just really nice slow sweeps, even nice movements forward, back, sideways, whatever you prefer. Just try and keep it nice and slow. Now, just make sure that you're recording at either 24 or 25 frames per second, just at lower frame rates, because this does limit the amount of frame dropping that you'll have to do in post. Also, it is recommended that you manually select your exposure, just so you don't get exposure changes throughout the whole footage. And you don't have to use ND filters with hyperlapses because you will be speeding this up in post, and it really doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to motion blur. Now, step 2, bring it into your editing software and trim the clip to your desired length. Step 3, now you speed up the clip by about 800 to 1000%. Anything in between there, it all depends on how fast you want this hyperlapse to go. So step 4 is nesting the footage. So right click on the footage and go down to where it says nest. Step 5, put some warp stabilizer over the top to smooth it out. Now just go over to the bar, search up warp stabilizer, click on that and put it in there and just let it analyze the clip. Now, you may have to adjust the sensitivity of the warp stabilizer to make it a little bit less, or it depends on how your footage actually turned out. You may actually have to put a little bit more. Just be wary, if you do put a little bit more, it might turn out a little bit jello-y. Now, that is a very quick version of a hyperlapse. Like I said, if you're under some really harsh time constrictions, this may actually be ideal for some, but for most, this might actually not work because sometimes it doesn't end up as smooth as your hyperlapse function in the app, but this is just another way of actually doing this. So you can actually speed ramp the footage as well, which is really cool. You can keep it at nice normal pace or slow it down, speed ramp it up really fast, into the next one, and then you can slow it back down again. It's up to you how you want to do this, but filming like this actually gives you a way of just doing more in post. It really depends on what you are shooting. Sometimes you really need to shoot for the edit as opposed to just shooting a whole bunch of stuff, coming into editing and just putting it all together. You really need to have an idea of what you are actually filming. Now, alternatively, you have 4 different options within the Fly app to create hyperlapses, which obviously work really well. Now, you can also take advantage of the 8K hyperlapse function as well, but this only allows you to take 1 frame every 6 seconds. So just take note that this will actually take a lot longer than your regular 1080p hyperlapse. Now, they currently don't have 4K hyperlapse as yet at the time of this recording, but I assume they'll actually do that in a later firmware update. Now the first mode they have is the free mode. This allows you to move the angle of the drone while it actually takes shots with whatever motion you want to go through. Now you can even pan left or pan right, or you can even tilt down at that time. So just make sure you choose the right amount of intervals for each shot, and then also the total duration of how long you actually want the clip to be. You can even adjust the sensitivity of the drone speed as well. Now in the top right hand corner, you can actually see this is how much battery life you have, and then it'll actually show you how long this hyperlapse will actually take. So just make sure you have a few minutes to return back to your home. Otherwise it will cut the hyperlapse out and return back to home. Now, once all the total shots complete, it will render out a hyperlapse video for you into just a regular file, but you may actually have to play some warp stabilizer in post just to smooth it out a little bit more. It all depends on how smooth your movements were captured in the drone. Now the second mode is circling. Now this one actually is quite useful, and I do actually like using it. All you need to do is just draw a box around the subject and just let the drone circle it. But once again, you just have to choose the duration and the intervals of shots of how long you actually want the hyperlapse to be. Now the third option is course lock. Now this one's pretty simple. All you need to do is select a course, select the intervals, select the time, and just fly it. And it flies along. You can do some manual adjustments while you're actually letting it fly. But yeah, it all depends on if you actually prefer that one. Now the last one is waypoints. This one's probably my actual favorite because this actually allows you to select different points and different angles in each movement. Now it'll even tell you if the angle is good or not good enough or even too much for the actual video to be processed. So just try not to make movements too complex. Try and make it nice and simple at first because it may actually look quite funny in video, but it's really intuitive and it'll actually tell you how this thing works. Although the only issue with this one is you can't record any more than 2 seconds in total when it comes to 8K hyperlapse. When it comes to 1080p, you can record much longer. Now the biggest tip you want to take away from doing hyperlapses is always make sure you have enough battery left. It will show you how much flight time you have approximately left, but just make sure you have enough battery. Start off with a full battery if you are planning to do 8K hyperlapses because they obviously take the longest because of those 6-second shots. Now all this footage is sometimes best to put through warp stabilizers as well in post just to really smooth it out, but just try and crank it down a little bit so it's not too harsh because it will crop in and you can sometimes get that jello effect, which, you know, isn't really pleasant sometimes. But anyway, guys, I hope you found that useful. If you did, hit that like button. That would be absolutely amazing. Subscribe if you already haven't, because I've noticed a lot of you guys who watch my videos aren't subscribed. I really would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe there. That subscribe button. That would be absolutely amazing. Well, the button's actually, you know, down below. Bell notification as well, so you can be notified when my videos drop. Guys, my name's Jason Morris, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, let's go.